Discovering Tut. The saga continues. Let's study the summary in detail. The death of King Tut. King Tut was just a teenager when he died. He was the last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for many centuries. Let's move further, but first do subscribe to Ritesh Budden. King Tut was buried and forgotten over the years. But after the discovery of his tomb in 1922, the modern world wondered about the cause of his untimely death. He was brought out of his tomb and recently a CT scan was done to know the reason for his death. The mummy of King Tut. Let's move further. At 6 p.m. on 5th January 2005, the world's most famous mummy was taken out of its resting place. As the mummy of King Tut was being put into the scanner for performing a CT scan, angry winds stirred and dark clouds covered the stars. The weather had been overcast all day and the night sky was hidden by dark-bellied clouds. The CT scan was being done to reveal the remaining medical mysteries that surrounded the untimely death of this young king who died more than 3,300 years ago. King Tut's tomb lies 26 feet underground in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of the Kings. Tourists from around the world came to visit the tomb and paid their respect. They gazed at the murals on the walls on the burial chamber and looked at King Tut's gilded face on the lid on his outer coffin. The visitors were curious and thoughtful. Some feared the Pharaoh's curse would come upon those who disturb him. Howard Carter and his findings. Howard Carter was a British archaeologist who in 1922 discovered King Tut's tomb after years of futile searching. Its contents remain the richest royal collection ever found. There were dazzling works of art in gold that had caused a sensation then and continue to draw people's attention even today. King Tut was also buried with everyday things such as board games, a bronze razor, cases of food, clothes, wine, etc. that he would need in the afterlife. Zahir was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities explained that the mummy was in a very bad condition because of what Howard Carter did to it. Howard Carter found King Tut's body in 3 nested coffins. In the first coffin, he found a shroud decorated with garlands of willow and olive leaves, with celery, lotus petals and cornflowers, which indicated that the burial took place in March or April. When he finally reached the mummy, he ran into trouble. The ritual resins had hardened, cementing King Tut to the bottom of the solid gold coffin. Now, Howard Carter had to chisel out King Tut's mummy. He tried to loosen the resins by putting the mummy outside in the sun, the scorching heat of the sun that heated it to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. For several hours, the mummy was set outside in the blazing sun, but nothing happened. He reported that the tough material had to be cut from under the limbs and trunk to free the king's remains. The royals in King Tut's time believed that they could take their fortune with them after death. Hence, King Tut was buried with all his very costly belongings. To separate King Tut from his ornaments, Howard Carter's men removed the mummy's head and cut off nearly every major joint. Then they reassembled the remains of the body on a layer of sand in a wooden box with padding. Then King Tut's mummy Xrayed. Next topic. Archaeology has changed since then, focusing less on treasures and more on the fascinating details of life and fascinating mysteries of death. It also uses more sophisticated tools. In 1968, more than 40 years after Howard Carter's discovery, an anatomy professor X-rayed the mummy and revealed an astonishing fact that beneath the resin that caked King Tut's chest, his breastbone and front ribs were missing. King Tut's demise was a big event, even by royal standards, as he was the last heir of his family. His funeral meant the end of a royal dynasty. But the facts of his death and its consequences are unclear. King Tut and his ancestors. Next topic. Heading. King Tut's father or grandfather, Amenhotep III, was a powerful king who ruled for almost 4 decades. His son Amenhotep IV succeeded him. He was a very strange king. He promoted the worship of Aten, the sun disk, and changed his name to Akhenaten. And he moved the religious capital from Thebes to Akhetaten, and known as Amarna. He shocked the country by attacking a major god, Ammon, by breaking his images and closing down his temples. Ray Johnson, the director of the University of Chicago's Research Center in Luxor, called this king as very wacky, crazy, or different type of a king, odd. He said it must have been a terrible time for people, a horrible time for people. After Akhenaten's death, Smenkhare, a mysterious ruler, ruled for a brief period and departed with hardly any trace. It was then that a very young king, Tutankhamun, took over the throne. The boy soon changed his name to Tutankhamun, known as King Tut today. He oversaw a revival of the old good ways. King Tut ruled for 9 years and then he died unexpectedly. King Tut is one mummy among many in Egypt. No one knows how many mummies there are in Egypt. The Egyptian Mummy Project has recorded almost 600 and the counting still goes on. King Tut's mummy was the first mummy to be CT scanned to ascertain or to come to know about the secrets of his death by a portable scanner donated by the National Geographic Society and Siemens. King Tut's entire body was scanned. On the night of the scan, workmen carried him for the tomb and raised it on a hydraulic lift into a trailer that held the scanner. However, initially, the very costly scanner could not function properly because of sand in the cooler fan. But soon all the hurdles were crossed or sorted out, and after the scan, the king was returned to his coffin to rest in peace. Once again, the CT scan showed an astonishing image of King Tut and his entire body very clearly. It showed a grey head, neck, vertebrae, a hand, several images of the rib cage and a section of the skull. Zahi Hawass was relieved that nothing had seriously gone wrong. As the technicians left the trailer, they saw the star constellation which the ancient Egyptians knew as the soul of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Thanks for sparing your time. See you in the next video. Discovering Tut, the saga